I never expected to witness a heartwarming connection that revealed unimaginable secrets. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows on the streets. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my ears like a drum. My hands trembled as I clutched the crumpled letter. It felt heavy, too heavy, like a weight dragging me into the depths of despair. My world was about to shift in that moment. I was alone in a bustling cafe, surrounded by laughter and chatter, yet I felt an aching solitude. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, but all I could taste was salt from unshed tears. A few tables away, a couple laughed and whispered sweet nothings, contrasting sharply with the storm brewing inside me. I glanced up, catching a glimpse of my reflection in the window, eyes wide, cheeks flushed, mouth set in a firm line. It all started with a phone call from Mom. Her voice shook, trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. "We need to talk," she said, the words slicing through the mundane day. My stomach knotted. "What's wrong?" I asked, feeling a chill inch down my spine. She paused. That silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then she dropped at the bombshell that everything I thought I knew was a lie: family secrets, scandalous whispers hidden in dusty corners. A family tree with roots entwined in betrayal. My birth wasn't the joyous occasion I was led to believe. It felt like the ground beneath my feet crumbled, leaving nothing but darkness. I could almost hear the echo of my father's laughter from years ago, but the memory began to warp, twisting into something grotesque. My heartbeat quickened. I needed answers. I thought of my sister, Anna. She was my anchor, my rock. Her hair was always a wild mess, tendrils floating like carefree wishes. We shared secrets, dreams, the unbreakable bond of sisterhood. But what would she think if I told her the truth? Would the love we forged in childhood shatter under this weight? My chest tightened, unsure of how to move forward. I stepped outside, the cold air biting into my skin. It felt refreshing yet suffocating. I walked aimlessly, lost in a maze of thoughts, dodging familiar faces that suddenly seemed like strangers. Whispers brushed against my ears, vague echoes of normalcy. But inside, chaos reigned. Just when I thought I'd collapsed under the burden, I noticed a figure sitting alone on a park bench. A stranger, but one that felt oddly familiar. A flicker of recognition passed through me as I approached. Their eyes met mine, deep pools of compassion, illuminating the shadows that cloaked my heart. It felt like an unspoken camaraderie. Suddenly, I wanted to pour out my secrets, to let someone else hold my burden for just a moment, but before I could speak, their lips curled into a knowing smile. "I know why you're here," they said softly, their voice wrapping around me like a warm blanket. How could they know? Did they have their own secrets tethered to mine? My heart raced, and curiosity ignited. Then, everything shifted. The air grew electric, thick with unvoiced connections. "Let us find the truth together," they whispered. But their eyes held a darkness that made the hairs on my neck stand up. A tidal wave of questions swirled in my mind. Who were they? What did they know? Was another revelation lurking just around the corner? My heart thundered as I stood there, teetering on the edge of an unknown abyss. What came next could change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The park bench creaked slightly as I sat down, a motion that felt surreal. The stranger maintained their gaze, as if probing my very soul. Their expression was a blend of understanding and anguish, wrapping around my turmoil like vine chokes a tree. I could feel their presence urging me to drop my guard, to be vulnerable in this moment of uncertainty. "Who are you?" I finally managed to ask, my voice cracking like old glass. The stranger hesitated, a shadow flickering across their face. "I'm someone who has been through their own unraveling," they confessed. "You don't have to bear it all alone." There was sincerity in their tone, yet the weight of their words loomed heavy. They leaned in closer, a spark of camaraderie sparkling in their eyes. "You're at a crossroads, aren't you? Things are about to change." The air thickened, and I nodded, my throat constricted. "I got a letter." It revealed everything I thought I knew was a lie. My voice tumbled out, feelings pouring forth like a stream fed by a torrential rain. My family isn't who I thought they were. The stranger's eyes widened, as if my confession struck a chord deep within. "Some truths are hard to bear," they said gently. "But you'll find strength in them, even if it doesn't feel that way now. Would you like to hear a story? A story about a family whose past unraveled like yours?" I swallowed hard, cheeks warm with a mixture of fear and intrigue. Hearing someone else's experience could offer me glimpses of clarity. "Yes," I whispered, captivated. As they spoke, I began to piece together their fragmented tale, a mix of heartache and healing, a revelation that came with its own heavy price. They spoke of secrets that seethed for years within their own family until one day, like a coiled snake ready to strike, it all erupted to the surface. There was loss, yes, but also unexpected kindness from strangers that helped them stitch their heart back together. Yet, just as I began to savor the warmth of their narrative, a figure caught my eye across the park. My heart dropped when I recognized a familiar face. It was Anna. Why was she here? My sister, my loyal anchor, trotting into my chaotic storm, eyes lighting up with joy as if nothing were amiss. Would she spot me with this stranger? Would she see me sharing my secrets with a person whose intent I barely understood? Fear underpinned my thoughts like a relentless drumbeat. I quickly leaned in closer to the stranger, hoping to obscure my face, urgency gripping me. But Anna was already heading my way, oblivious to the whirlwind within me. "There you are." She beamed brightly, like a sunbeam penetrating a cloudy day. "Mom said you were at the cafe." I worried something was wrong. Her brows knitted together with concern as she scanned my face. Before I could respond, my heart ripped open at the thought of lies burgeoning at the surface. I wanted to reach for her, to pull her closer and shield her from what was hovering, threatening to strike. Instead, I felt paralyzed. I wanted to wave away the stranger, to turn back time to a moment before everything collapsed. "Who's this?" she asked curiously, tilting her head, unaware of the stark tension in the air. The stranger offered a small smile, but their gaze settled upon me with a steely intensity that felt both empowering and terrifying. "Just a friend," they replied. "Maybe I'll share a story with her too." Anna narrowed her eyes, sensing something in the air. She was perceptive, she always had been. "What kind of story?" she pressed, twisting her hands together nervously. My chest tightened even more. The truth hovered dangerously, a delicate balance between revelations and devastation. I was standing on a precipice, feeling the earth shift beneath me, and then, with one misplaced glance, I saw Mom approaching from the other side. The look on her face was haunting, resolute yet fearful, as if she'd come to gather the pieces of a shattered family before all was lost. She had come to me, but would she come bearing comfort or chaos? In that split second, I realized I stood at the intersection of my past and the future, with my sister to one side, the stranger sealing my words, and my mother shadowing the other. The truth was a tempest, violently swirling emotions and secrets that threatened to consume us. As I stood clutching the remnants of courage, a revelation danced on the tip of my tongue, yearning to be set free. Tomorrow loomed over the horizon with its incomprehensible riddles, but tonight, the shadows whispered loudly, leaving me to wonder, just how deep would the rabbit hole go? I took a shallow breath, caught in the tempest of uncertainty around me. The park bench felt impossibly small as the weight of my decisions began to bear down like an iron blanket. My sister Anna stood there, radiant and unaware, while the stranger beside me held the gaze of someone who understood the stakes. Mom's approach sent a jolt through my body, a frantic pulse that echoed the thunder of my heart. No! I wanted to scream, but all that escaped my lips was silence, ensnared by fear and disbelief. Each moment seemed to elongate, every bit of color fading from the world around me, until the only thing I could see was the looming confrontation. Mom stopped a few feet away, her posture stiff yet tentative. "I was looking for you," she managed, her voice a mixture of relief and tension. "What is going on here?" Her eyes shifted between me and the stranger, the weight of countless unsaid words hanging in the balance. "Just a friend," I echoed the stranger's earlier words but felt the hollowness of my own reply. How could I allow this moment to spiral out of control? In a blink, I was begging the universe to rewind time. "I came to ask about the letter," Mom rushed, her voice trembling slightly. "I found it." Anna's brow furrowed. "What letter? What are you talking about?" She interrupted, confusion twisting her innocent features. I could see that she felt the tension, the fracture beginning to split our world right down the middle. Mom swallowed hard, the reality that I had hidden for so long crashing down around us. "There are things I haven't told you. Secrets about our family." The air between us crackled with electricity as her words seemed to unleash a storm that could not be contained. "No more secrets," I declared, finally finding the strength to anchor my voice. "Just tell us everything. I deserve to know." The impulse within me, the need for clarity and truth, pushed me into unfamiliar territory, bracing for whatever would fall out when the dam broke. The look in Mom's eyes shifted from fear to resolve. "The letter spoke of your father. Things happened long before you were born, things I thought were buried and gone. Is he even my father?" The words slipped out raw and unrefined, puncturing the suffocating tension. The stranger, sitting silently with their sense of understanding, leaned further in, an active witness to this raw reality. It was almost comforting, as if they held space for the turmoil unspooling around us like a tightly wound ball of yarn. "No. I mean, yes. He is," Mom stumbled, pinning her gaze to the ground as if she could find the answers in the dirt beneath her feet. "But his past, it's complicated. There were choices made, lives intertwined with missteps." Anna's eyes darted around, panic rising as she swiftly caught on to the disarray. "Mom, you need to explain. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. Believe me, I wish I could turn back time, protect you both from it all." Mom's voice cracked, the weight of her own guilt pouring forth. "But we're not who you think we are. Our history runs deeper, twisted, wrapped in shadows." The stranger's eyes softened, perhaps sensing the rupture in the fabric of our family. "Sometimes, sharing the burden makes it lighter," they spoke, their voice like a balm on an open wound. "Letting others in can heal old wounds and allow you to breathe again." But before I could glean any comfort from their words, a noise erupted nearby, a sudden cluster of laughter. A group of children chased one another through the park, their voices bright and buoyant against the heavy air. I watched as they played innocently, their lives still untouched by the specter of uncertainty that loomed over my own. "Can we go somewhere private?" I finally suggested, desperation creeping into my tone. The park felt alive in chaos while I stood still, struggling to navigate the turbulence before me. "Now, please." Anna glanced at Mom, her trust in my sisterly instincts evident. "Let us go back to my place," she offered, her worry a soft blanket wrapping around the jagged seams of the day. Mom nodded, her expression torn between relief and the sorrow of a truth that had long been unspoken. As we began to shuffle away from the bench, the stranger held out a hand as if to offer comfort, but part of me hesitated. Part of me knew that these secrets were not for them to bear, only for us, and just as we turned, ready to delve into this family history that was both ours and not ours, I felt a vibration within the pocket of my jacket. The letter. I had nearly forgotten about the words penned in spiraling ink. The letter I had tried to run from was now demanding my attention. With trembling fingers, I pulled it out, and Anna gasped when she saw the familiar envelope. "You were going to show me," she reminded me softly, concern coloring her words. Suddenly, the ground beneath us felt even less stable. As I pulled the letter free, ready to uncover my destiny, I locked eyes with Mom, whose gaze reflected the weight of countless hesitations. Just then, the truth glinted like a shard of glass, sharp yet beckoning. Tomorrow might shatter the delicate web we spun, placing everything at stake, and somewhere within the shadows of my heart, an unexpected twinge of hope flickered, waiting for dawn to sweep away the night's impending storm. What secrets had been hidden for so long? As the world around me faded, one question clawed for attention: was I prepared for the storm that was about to break? The tension in the pit of my stomach tightened as I clutched the letter, its weight a testament to the hidden truths trapped within the creases and folds. My breath came in uneven gasps, fear mingling with an insatiable curiosity. Anna's eyes burned into mine, a mix of excitement and apprehension that mirrored my own. I could feel Mom's gaze lingering on the letter, heavy with anticipation and dread. "Let us sit," I suggested, my voice barely a whisper but breaking the silence that had suffocated us in the wake of Mom's revelations. We walked a few paces before settling onto a weathered picnic table, the wood splintered and worn, much like our family ties. I handed the letter to Anna, a silent offering of trust and vulnerability. "Open it," I urged, my heart racing in tandem with the fluttering of leaves overhead. The letter carried the scent of aged paper, a scent that wrapped around us like an embrace. With trembling fingers, Anna broke the seal, the sound cracking through the air like a gunshot. She unfolded the letter slowly, her brow furrowing deeper with each word she read. Beside her, Mom's expression shifted through a spectrum of emotions: regret, sorrow, and finally a flicker of resolve. "Who wrote it?" Anna asked, her voice barely above a murmur, as if speaking too loudly might scare away the answers we desperately sought. "It's from someone who knew your father," Mom admitted, her eyes clouded with distant memories. "He was more complicated than I ever let on." As Anna read, I held my breath, each intake of air conspiring to stretch the moment out like taffy. "It says," she began, her voice quaking with disbelief. "It says he wasn't just our dad. He had connections. People who were important, dangerous even." "Dangerous?" I repeated, the word clinging to my tongue like ash. The idea of our father existing in a world of shadows, of secrets leading back to what? The laughter of the children had faded into the background, replaced by a palpable silence cradling our table like a fragile egg. I could feel the shadows of our impeding truths closing in, as though they were watching us from the edges of the park. With shaking hands, Anna offered the letter to Mom. "What does it mean? Why didn't you tell us sooner?" Mom's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she took the letter. "I wanted to protect you. I thought that if you never knew, you'd never have to worry about the things I left behind." Her voice wavered, a tremor that hinted at the raw anxiety clad within her. "But this can't be the whole story. If this is our father's past, there must be more," I challenged, my spirit pushing against the confines of the fear gnawing at us. "What else is there, Mom?" She looked away, her gaze pained yet searching, as if the truth were trapped somewhere in the air between us. "There are consequences to knowing," she warned softly, the weight of her experience pressing against her heart. A sudden gust of wind rattled the branches above, unleashing a swirl of leaves that danced around us as if adding their voices to our conversation. Just as the rustling settled, an unfamiliar voice broke through the lingering atmosphere of discovery. A figure approached us, a woman with frizzy auburn hair and bright blue eyes. She looked both rugged and warm, an expressive aura enveloping her as she approached the table with an undeniable sense of purpose. "Excuse me," she said, glancing at all three of us in succession, her demeanor cordial yet firm. "I was walking my dog and couldn't help but overhear. I think you might need some help." "Help?" I echoed, bewildered. My heart raced at the thought of a stranger intruding into our private turmoil. Yes, she replied, unperturbed by my hesitation. I know about your father. The choices he made, the life he left behind. I know what you're afraid of. Uncertainty rippled through me, intertwining with the fragile thread of hope I had felt earlier. How do you know? I demanded, a mix of skepticism and desperation creeping into my voice. She leaned in closer, her gaze steady. Because he was my father too. The words hung in the air. Startling and stark, as if they had just sliced through the heavy veil draping our family. An electric shock surged through the space between us, shaking everything I thought I knew. I locked eyes with Mom, whose jaw dropped in disbelief, our own shared history suddenly stretching itself thin, revealing a rift we never knew existed. Who are you? Anna asked, her voice trembling as if caught in the storm of revelations that threatened to drown us. I'm your sister, the woman said softly, yet her words reverberated with the weight of 1,000 unknown secrets. And trust me, the truth about our father and his choices is more complicated than any of us can imagine. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park, I felt myself teetering on the edge of heartache and hope. With a newfound sister standing before us, would the truth shatter our world, or could it finally stitch together the frayed seams of our family? My heart raced with anticipation and dread, and as the pieces fell into place, I realized the real confrontation was just beginning. The air hung heavy around us, a tapestry woven with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant laughter, now muted by the weight of a newfound reality. My mind scrambled to process the enormity of her whispered claim. A sister? The idea seemed implausible, like a fragment from a dream I had never wanted to wake from. Just as I started to grasp the possibility, the ground beneath me felt unsteady and foreign, shifting like quicksand. Can you prove it? Mom demanded, her voice an anchor despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. She seemed to be gathering her strength, her resolve bubbling forth in the face of this unexpected storm. The woman our sister nodded solemnly, taking a step back from the table. I have something with me, she replied, reaching into her bag. I noticed the subtle tremor in her hands, the same kind of nervous energy that buzzed through me. What did she hold in that bag? Another piece of our fractured puzzle, or an entirely different beast meant to tear us apart even more? Without answering, she pulled out a weathered photograph, edges frayed, colors faded. She held it out for us to see, and as the image came into focus, I felt my breath hitch. There he was, our father, a younger version of the man I had only known through Mom's hazy memories, standing tall and confidently beside a woman whose familiar features ignited a spark of recognition deep within me. That's me, she said quietly, pointing to the child nestled in our father's embrace. Her youthful face mirrored ours more than I had ever dared to believe. And this was the summer I found out he was living a double life. Her voice lowered as if that confession hung heavy in the air, each word dripping with unspent grief. Leah, I read the name on the back of the photograph, the curves of the letters intertwining with my own identity. I swallowed hard, trying to reconcile the image with my perception of the man I loved and feared. How do we know you're not lying? No one would choose this, she shot back, pain flashing across her face. I lost him too. I just found the letter a week ago, the same one you have. I've been searching for you, my siblings, ever since. The word siblings reverberated in my mind like a resonant bell, filling the cracks left by years of unknowing. It was unfathomable that I had shared a father with someone who had walked through life just as I had, carrying the weight of his secrets. As I struggled to reconcile every scattered recollection, Anna seemed unable to contain her tears any longer. She reached out for something: comfort, assurance, and found only the space between us. Mom, steadfast, aggrieved, and yet strangely resilient, wrapped an arm around Anna, pulling her closer. What do you want from us? Mom asked, her voice steady but edged with vulnerability. To share the truth, Leah answered. To help you understand who he really was. If we work together, maybe we can untangle the mess he left behind. Maybe we can find peace. The sincerity in her eyes began to melt the barriers I had erected, although dark clouds of fear loomed in my mind. What if the truth was more than we could handle? Just then, the innocent laughter of children skittered through the air, a stark contrast to our unfolding reality, and for a flicker of a moment, I longed for those simpler days filled with warmth and ignorance. "I can help you find the people he was involved with," Leah continued, her voice laced with urgency. "But it won't be easy. They're still out there, watching and waiting, dangerous people tied to him in ways you can't imagine." "Dangerous?" I echoed, my heart pounding once more. "What do you mean? Were they involved in anything illegal?" Leah took a deep breath, her expression turning grave. "Our father was part of something much bigger than any of us realized. And when he tried to break free, he left behind enemies who don't forgive." Mom recoiled slightly, the recognition of past shadows creeping back into her eyes. "I thought this was behind us. I wanted to protect you." She sounded fierce, but I could hear the fear that laced her words. "No matter how hard you try," Leah said, the urgency in her tone rising, "you can't escape the past. But you don't have to face it alone." There was something powerful in her invitation, a fragile hope that flickered like the dying light of the day. Yet, it was overshadowed by an overwhelming unease that clenched my stomach. To untangle the truth meant confronting a world we had scarcely begun to understand. As the sun slipped beneath the horizon, shadows loomed larger, stretching ominously across the asphalt. I looked at Mom and Anna, their faces overspread with disbelief and fear. And for a moment, I saw the three of us standing at the precipice of something unknowable. "What do we do?" I asked quietly, feeling the ripple of uncertainty course through us. "If our father's legacy is darker than just family secrets? What if uncovering it puts us in danger?" "I can help you," Leah insisted, but I could see a flicker of doubt slinking into her fervent eyes. "But it's your decision. All I can promise is that the truth will set you free if you're brave enough to face it." As I considered her words, a gentle breeze danced around us, carrying whispers of courage mingled with threads of trepidation. With stakes higher than we had ever imagined, the path ahead was cloaked in shadows and uncertainty, and as I stood there, I knew this was only the beginning of a heart-wrenching journey. Just then, a loud crash echoed from beyond the trees, a sound like something heavy falling. My heart raced, and a chill raced down my spine as I felt the air shift ominously around us. What new revelations loomed, and what risk were we truly inviting into our lives? There was no turning back now, and the answers we so desperately sought were a heartbeat away from unraveling. Yet we stood on the precipice, knowing this knowledge could seal our fate. A shiver ran through me, the air thickening with unspoken fears and impending threats. The crash from beyond the trees echoed again, louder this time, cutting through our tenuous grasp on the moment. I instinctively stepped closer to Mom and Anna, their silence mirroring my own rising panic as the laughter of children faded into an eerie specter. Leah turned toward the direction of the sound, her eyes narrowing. "I need to see what that was," she said, urgency creeping into her voice. "Stay here. Are you insane?" Mom's voice was hardened like steel, each syllable punctuated with worry. "You don't know what's out there." "I can't just," Leah began, but I reached out to stop her, the instinct to protect overpowering any whiff of curiosity. "Wait," I urged, my throat tight with concern. "Let us not rush into anything. What if it's tied to him?" She hesitated, the fight in her eyes warring with the instinct to flee. "I'll be quick. I promise," she said, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her certainty. "Let us just call the police," Anna suggested, a waver in her voice as she dug her fingers into Mom's arm. Her wide eyes darted between us, searching for answers we were struggling to grasp. "No police," Leah interjected sharply. "If they're watching, they'll know we're onto something. It's better to handle it ourselves." And just like that, the gravity of our situation crystallized. The very orb we had spun ourselves into became denser, instilling a shared understanding that we were teetering on the edge of a precipice, peering down into an abyss we did not fully comprehend. It was one decision after another, each revealing a facet of our father's concealed life, and we were the ones who had to sift through those shattered shards. As Leah slipped into the shadows, I turned to Mom, searching for solace in her familiar gaze. "What do we do?" I whispered, the tremors of uncertainty now vibrating through us all. "We wait," she said resolutely, though the strength in her voice felt brittle, as if she was barely holding on. "For now, we focus on what we can control. We work together." In those moments, I felt a flicker of empathy blossom within me, breaking through the chaos and confusion. It was in that kitchen, just a week prior, that the three of us had grieved the losses and the pain of our past. Now, we were building a bridge between our struggles and this new revelation. Perhaps it was hope, a faint light shining through the cracks of our collective grief. As the seconds turned into an eternity, I began mentally rummaging through the memories Leah's revelation had unearthed. Our father, his shadows clung to places he'd never tread, yet I felt his essence resonant in our shared traits, our inherited laughter. Was it possible that somewhere within the wreckage of his life, there existed a lingering goodness? Could it be that a piece of him had survived, woven into our very beings? A soft rustle interrupted my thoughts, and we collectively turned toward the treeline where Leah had vanished. The shadows seemed to twist and bend, and then she appeared again, but something was off. Her face was pale, a sheen of sweat glistening on her forehead, and her eyes, once aflame with urgency, now bore the weight of a grim revelation. "Is everything all right?" I asked, my heart clenching. "There was someone," she said breathlessly, "someone watching me from the bushes, and when I went to get closer, they ran. But I caught a glimpse." Her voice trembled, the dread wrapping around her words like ivy choking the life from a tree. "It was a man. I recognized him from the letter, the one belonging to our father." Shock coursed through me as fear gripped my heart. "What do you mean? Who was he?" "I don't know his name," Leah replied urgently. "But there's a car parked a little ways down the road. We need to leave now. We're on borrowed time." A chorus of gasps left our lips, Mom squeezing Anna closer while I remained anchored, paralyzed by the shock of it all. This wasn't just a family reunion, it was an opening to a terrifying world we had unwittingly entered, one rife with hidden truths and unimagined threats. Mom's protective instincts ignited as she swept Anna into her arms, ready to flee, but I stood still, a battle of instincts raging within me. "We can't just run. Not without knowing what we're dealing with." A flicker of defiance crossed Leah's expression. "You want to know the truth, then we need to confront whatever's lurking in the shadows, don't you?" The weight of her words bore down on me, and I closed my eyes, afraid that once I opened them, everything would change forever. But the feeling in my chest, the insatiable desire for answers, pushed me onward. "Okay," I finally said, determination cutting through the fear. "Let us find out what's out there." Just as I spoke, a flash of headlights illuminated the darkened road ahead, illuminating everything around us and silencing the night. A black car came into view, cruising slowly, as if searching for something or someone. My heart raced as I took a step back, aware that our moment of reckoning had arrived. "We need to act," Leah whispered fiercely, her breath quickening. "This is our chance to find out what we're up against." And in that stirring moment, a silent pact was forged amongst us, our lives irrevocably intertwined amid the gathering storm. I could feel it, the weight of a secret begging to be uncovered and the enigma of our father's legacy beckoning to be unearthed. But as we advanced, with danger looming tangibly close, I felt an unsettling notion ripple through me: uncovering the truth might shatter everything we believed to be solid ground. And as the black car drew nearer, that crushing realization tightened its grip, leaving me with only one thought: did we truly have the strength to face the revelation still lurking in the dark? The headlights flooded the darkness, and for a moment, the world seemed to narrow down to that one car. It glided closer, each inch amplifying the weight of our collective anticipation. I felt the frigid night air slice through my resolve, my heart drumming a staccato tune against my ribcage. "Stay close," Leah urged as we retreated a step, the thrill of danger mingling with the scent of impending unease. She stood beside Mom and Anna, her eyes fixed forward, a fierce guardian against the unknown. The car came to a halt, tires crunching over gravel like bone on frost. Silence ensued, thick and treacherous. Every instinct screamed for us to flee, to escape while we had the chance, but an invisible force tugged at my feet. I wanted answers not just for me, but for Mom and Anna. Secrets had weighed us down for too long. I can't just let it go, I breathed, more to myself than anyone else. With a nod, Leah steeled herself and took a gradual step forward, pulling me along. The darkness seemed more on edge than ever, as if it were preparing to pounce at any moment. Watching from the tree-line, I sensed not just the shadows of the night, but the pulse of our history, one intertwined with mystery and betrayal. A figure emerged from the car, silhouetted against the glow of its headlights. My stomach sank, recognizing the contours of someone familiar. "No way," I whispered in disbelief. "Who is it?" Leah asked, her gaze piercing mine. "It's Dean," I managed, bewildered. Our father's best friend." But the veil of familiarity quickly morphed into layers of tension. Hadn't this man been part of the reason we'd been hiding? The ghost of our father's life shimmered in the eddies of the night, and I felt the weight of all the questions that cascaded behind me, each answer tethered to the regret of those he'd left behind. Dean paused mid-stride, the recognition dawning, his brow furrowing as he caught sight of us. The air thrummed with potential, a chord struck between those who had once been woven together, now frayed at the edges. "Is that really you?" His soft voice cracked, both surprise and anguish coloring his words. "I thought I'd lost you all. I thought you'd never come back. Why are you here?" Leah asked, her voice steady despite the tempest swirling in her heart. "What do you know about our father?" His expression shifted, shadows crossing his face as he took a cautious step closer, sincerity etched into his features. "I never wanted you to find out like this. He was in trouble, and I wanted to protect you all." "Protect us?" Mom interjected, her voice sharp with indignation. "You let us live in the dark. How is that protection?" There was a raw honesty in Dean's eyes now, something almost tender surfacing despite the tempest of emotions around us. "I know it seems that way," he said, pain threading through his words. "But I didn't know how to tell you. I've been following leads, trying to keep you safe. That's why I was here tonight." "Here for what?" I demanded, the layers of my own conflict tangling tighter. "To lie again?" "I came to warn you," he replied, urgency flaring in his tone. "About him. The man you saw in the bushes, he's dangerous, and he's looking for you. He knows what your dad did. Why should we trust you?" Anna's voice trembled, but her eyes were wide, curiosity and fear battling within her. "Because I'm the only one who knows the truth," Dean said, his eyes imploring. "Your father, he made mistakes that put you all in danger. I wanted to fix it, but I can't do it alone. You need to understand, he loved you more than everything. It was his past that haunts us." Silence enveloped us again, pressing down with all the weight of memories. I studied Dean, searching for the layers of truth beneath the sorrow etched deep into his face. A part of me wanted to believe him. He had been woven into the fabric of our lives long before we even understood the ramifications of our father's choices. Then, like a curtain being drawn back, another memory flickered in my mind: the late-night whispers between our parents, the unexplained calls, the shadows lurking at the edges of our comfort. The love we had received was woven with invisible threads of fear, protecting us from an unknown foe that had always hovered just out of reach. "I can help you," Dean pressed. "But you need to trust me." It was a gamble that could either shatter the fragile foundation we were attempting to build or lead us to the answers we desperately sought. I could see the uncertainty reflected in the faces of Mom and Leah, and Anna's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. As I opened my mouth to speak, a loud, booming sound erupted from the woods, sharp and jarring. Instinct kicked in, and we all turned our gazes toward the tree-line, dread pooling in our stomachs like stones. "I think he is here," Dean hissed, urgency climbing. "We need to go now before he finds us." Heart pounding, I felt the weight of decision pressing down. Every moment weighed with possibilities, choices teetering on the precipice of revelation. Were we to trust Dean, this man from our father's past, or run deeper into the shadows, leaving behind any chance of clarity? But as the darkness lumbered closer, a chill raced down my spine. This was just the beginning, and amid the storm of secrets, the harsh truth remained: none of us would escape the impending unraveling unchanged, and before I could gather my thoughts, the forest erupted with shattering branches and angry voices. Our moment of decision evaporated like mist in the air. With danger clawing at our backs and the cool wind whispering uncertainty through the trees, our hurried footsteps echoed away into the unknown, leaving behind the lingering question: would we finally uncover the truth, or would it consume us whole? The echoes of our footsteps faded into the oppressive silence of the night, each step swallowing the last vestiges of safety we had clung to. As we pushed further into the woods, the anxiety of confinement tightened around my chest. Doubts raced through my mind, but just as quickly as they came, Leah's hand found mine, squeezing tightly as if to share strength. "Where do we go?" I panted, glancing back at the dark expanse behind us, half expecting a figure to burst through like an unwelcome apparition. "Dean said the man is dangerous." "He did," Leah replied, her voice steady despite the trembling cadence of her breath. "But we can't just abandon him. He knows something, we have to learn it." "Learn what?" Mom shot back, her tone sharp like shards of glass. "It's all just smoke and mirrors. We need to prioritize our safety." Anna's small voice broke through the tension, quivering but firm. "Mom, what if we'll never find out what happened to Dad if we run forever?" That struck an unexpected chord, causing a shiver to ripple through me. Each of us wore our fear like armor, fortifying our defenses against the haunting whispers of our past. And yet, Anna, with her innocent courage, seemed to illuminate a path hidden in the murky shadows. "Fine, but we can't go back to him completely unguarded," I said, feeling a sudden rush of resolve. Dean was our connection to the truth and possibly to safe ground. Let us find some shelter, then regroup. We need to contact him again. The marked trees seemed to weave a labyrinth around us, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. We veered off the path into the deeper woods, searching for a pocket of safety. Moments later, we stumbled upon a worn-out shack, weathered by time yet standing steadfast, an aging sentinel within the chaos. Leah nudged the door open with a gentle push, creaking under her touch as we entered. The air inside was stale, but there was a certain comfort in its confines, a strange reminder of forgotten places leading us back to simpler times. A dusty armchair slumped against the wall, betraying history instead of hostility. "We can wait here," Leah suggested, her resolve resonating with the steeliness I admired in her. "And then we'll decide what to do next." We settled onto the creaking floorboards, an odd cohort of fear and determination. With strained silence blanketing us, I caught Anna's eye. "What if Dean's right? What if there's a greater danger lurking? That would explain why we always felt watched." "Or it could be more deception," Mom countered softly, the tremor in her voice betraying her own fears. "We need to be on guard. Trusting Dean risks opening old wounds." An unexpected flicker of warmth enveloped the stillness as Anna curled up against Leah. The simple gesture felt like an island of safety amidst the tempest that we were navigating. For a brief moment, it allowed me to breathe again, the innocence of childhood softly reminding us of the love we shared even in darkness. It wasn't long before we heard distant snaps of twigs echoing from outside. Tension gripped my throat as I instinctively peeked through a gap in the warped wood. "There are people out there," I whispered, the urgency tightening around us. "We need to be quiet." Just as I uttered the words, a burst of laughter rang out, sharp and unfamiliar, pulling a thread of dread through my veins. What kind of people shared laughter amidst danger? The laughter faded, but not before it resonated, laced with an ominous undertone that sent ice coursing through my veins. That doesn't sound good, Leah whispered, her eyes darting nervously toward the door. I'll check, just to be sure, I offered, even as my heart raced in protest. Before anyone could stop me, I slipped outside, praying for courage. As I stepped onto the crumbling porch, the moonlight painted everything in stark relief. And then there they were, just a few yards away, bundled together amidst the thicket, a group of faces illuminated by the faint glow of a cell phone, their features caught in a shimmer of laughter. And then he actually passed out at the barbecue. One of them cackled, his voice cutting through the air like a shard of glass. For a fleeting second, I considered retreating, but before I could move, my heart nearly stopped at the sight that sent a jolt of blood rushing to my head. One of them was familiar, a girl with fiery hair and freckles, wearing a mischievous grin that spread wide across her face. It was Jenna. Why the hell is she here? I gasped, moving instinctively to hide behind the splintered wall. The emotions surged through me. Jenna had been one of my closest friends before life in the shadows swallowed us whole. What brought her here, and what undercurrents tied her to this revelation? Could it be coincidence, or was there something darker at play? Panic surged within, but oddly, beneath the shadow of fear, a tiny seed of yearning bloomed. Could this unanticipated reunion hold a key to our past and a glimpse of the truth? Guys! I called softly, glancing back at the others, the thrill of revelation crackling on the edge of uncertainty. We need to talk. But before I could retreat into the safety of the shack, my heart dropped as I felt the unmistakable sensation of being watched from deeper shadows in the woods. Time slowed as realization crashed down like an avalanche. The laughter that once felt like home crossed the threshold into peril. This convergence of past and present held secrets yet untold, and as the walls of safety commenced their slow collapse around us, I was left dangling at the precipice of discovery and dread. Stay close, I whispered to myself, uncertainty seeping into the folds of my resolve. But once again, the shadows stirred, and the night grew thick with unsolved mysteries lurking just below the surface. What awaited us at the crossroads of the past? The burden of anticipation thickened the air, clinging to my skin as I backed away slowly, heart beating like a war drum in my chest. Jenna was here, yet wrapped in a cloak of laughter and camaraderie that suggested an entirely separate reality from the dark path we were trudging down. I could almost hear the whispers of uncertainty echoing inside my head. Was it possible she was involved? Or had her laughter always been a facade, masking something more dangerous? I retreated inside the shack, shutting the doors softly behind me. The wooden barrier felt lighter than air, an illusion of safety that barely masked the chaos brewing outside. My family's hopeful faces turned to me, concerned, their eyes wide and searching. Is it someone from your past? Leah asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and caution. It's Jenna, I breathed, still reeling from the shock. She's outside with a group. They're laughing, like it's some kind of party. I don't understand why she's here. What if she's involved with— Hold on, Mom interjected, her tone steely. Before jumping to conclusions, perhaps we should consider no. I couldn't help the sudden burst, desperation tinged with frustration flooding my words. You don't understand. Jenna was my best friend. We haven't seen each other since everything happened. What if she knows something? What if she could help us? Or worse, what if she's in danger too? Anna, wide-eyed, scooted closer to me, reaching for my hand. Maybe she's here to find us, she said softly, her innocence clashing with my doubts and fears. A moment passed quietly, the space stretching into something heavy as more possibilities unfurled, mingling with the fear tightening around my throat. Could Jenna be unaware of everything that had unfolded since we lost Dad? That we were being pursued? Or was she somehow entangled in it all? I have to know, I said finally, my resolve solidifying into a tough shell. I have to see her. We can't keep hiding forever. Is that really wise? Leah countered gently, concern etching into her brows. What if it puts you in danger? What if her laughter is just a distraction? I have to take that risk. For Dad. For us, I replied, glancing down at Anna. Her small hand in mine grounded me, igniting a flicker of determination deep within. I can't just turn away without knowing. I'll go with you, Leah insisted, her voice unwavering, even as her eyes glinted with worry. But we need to be quiet about it. Taking a deep breath, I nodded reluctantly, torn between the excitement of reunion and the dread of potential danger. We'll stay low and stick to the shadows. If anything feels off, we retreat immediately. Agreed? With hushed whispers, we formulated a plan, hearts racing in synchrony. Just when a glimmer of courage ignited within me, the sound of rustling leaves slithered in from outside, intertwining with the urgency swelling in my chest. All eyes turned towards the door, and I could practically hear the collective heartbeat as it echoed through the shack. Just a flicker of movement, a shadow too dark to belong, slithered past the crack of the door, making my breath hitch in my throat. Did you see that? Mom's eyes shone with panic, her voice barely more than a whisper. Stay quiet. We need to, I started, but my command was cut short as the door shuddered violently, threatening to burst open. Get down. Leah whispered urgently, pushing Anna and Mom behind an old couch as we sank into a crouch. The world outside felt as if it held its breath, the laughter that had mingled in the air now abruptly silenced. Suddenly, I caught the glint of a flashlight sweeping across the area surrounding our sanctuary, stirring dread within me as it passed over the shack, probing its dark corners. We can't let them find us. I hissed, fear cascading through my veins. We're too exposed. But when the beam of light fell upon the door again, I saw it, a dark figure outlined in the glow, a face obscured but unmistakably familiar. It was Dean. Panic flipped to confusion as the moment coalesced into disbelief. Dean? What is happening? I shot out. Heart racing with confusion. But my voice cut through the tension like a knife, inciting rather than soothing. Get inside. He shouted urgently, his fear palpable. They're coming. A rush of adrenaline inflated my lungs, and just as confusion threatened to overwhelm me, Jenna's laughter echoed one last time into the night, potent and mocking, echoing through the woods, leaving behind a haunting sense of foreboding that I stumbled backward, brain racing with the implications of his warning, entwined with the urgency of the moment. We had become trapped in a web of lies, and yet it felt wrong to abandon hope. Who's coming? I pressed, desperation spilling from my voice. No time. Dean yelled, urgency transforming his usually steady demeanor. Just trust me. Follow me now. My heart torn between lingering memories of friendship and current fears, I felt a weight crash down upon me. There was no clear path shining before me. Each heartbeat seemed to ponder the awful question, could trust ever return to those lost years, or was the truth buried too deep beneath layers of betrayal and secrecy? As I exchanged one last look with my family, uncertainty gripped me tighter than before. But before I could voice another word, the door splintered open, sending us all into darkness. The shadows had returned exactly where we had tried to evade them, but just like our past, they were closing in once more. The chaos erupted around us like thunder splitting the sky. Dean's voice was a cacophony of urgency amidst the rush of confusion that enveloped us. The door burst open, and I felt the cold, biting air slither into the shack, marking a line that we could not uncross. There was no time to contemplate my feelings for Dean, nor the creeping sense of betrayal that curled like smoke in my chest. The darkness was closing in, and I could feel its weight pressing down on us like the heavy veil of secrets we'd been trying so hard to lift. Go! Dean shouted, and without fully understanding why, I darted after him, pulling Anna and Mom along with Leah close behind. The world outside was mere shadows, broken by the flashlights that swept like searchlights through the thicket. There was an edge of panic in the night air, and I could almost taste it, an electric edge of danger and dread. Where do we go? I pressed, my feet pounding against the uneven ground, each step carrying me further into the unknown, racing against the demons of our past. There's a clearing not far from here, Dean replied, glancing over his shoulder as if the ghosts of our worst fears were chasing us. We can hide there until suddenly, a harsh voice broke the stillness, echoing across the trees. They've got to be around here somewhere. Move. The words were a thunderclap that filled my chest with terror. I turned back toward the shack for a brief second, the silhouette of it standing defiantly in the gloom, knowing that a part of our history would always be tethered to it. Perhaps it was foolishness gripping my heart when I looked back, but there was a deep yearning to confront the memories that seemed to seep from its wooden walls like the shadows closing in around us, but I was rooted in the present where danger lurked, and I needed to protect Anna and Mom. This way. Dean urged, steering us away from danger, deeper into the woods. As we broke free from the underbrush, we tumbled into a small clearing bathed by moonlight, an oasis amidst the darkness. The air hummed with tension as we huddled behind a cluster of trees, straining to hear the voices that drifted closer. I could feel my heart thundering in my ears, a pulse that matched the surrounding fears. Mom's face was pale, shadowed beneath the moonlight, but in that fleeting moment of stark clarity, something shifted within me. What do we know about Dean? Is he really our ally? Right now, we don't have a choice, Leah whispered fiercely, glancing down as Anna squeezed her hand. What matters is surviving this moment. In that heartbeat, as shadows danced on the fringes of our sanctuary, I reached out and took a breath, pushing through the uncertainty and doubt that had tangled me up. I needed clarity, something to ground me in the swirling chaos. Dean, I called softly, my voice almost lost to the rustling leaves. What did you mean when you said they're coming? What is going on? He turned towards me, his expression a storm of emotions. There are people looking for your family. They didn't just forget about your father's life, they want answers, too. He put his family in danger, and now his eyes bore into mine, the tension humming between us. They'll stop at nothing to find you. The air thickened around us, each word laden with unfulfilled promises. I felt unseen eyes watching, the weight of ancestry bearing down, both familiar and alien. And amidst the uncertainty, I knew that whatever was coming next could tear us apart or forge our connection in ways we never imagined. From the shadows, I heard the scuffle of feet scrambling toward the clearing. Hide! I urged, and we pressed ourselves into the underbrush, hearts racing as we held our breath. The voices drew nearer, filled with urgency, slicing through the quiet of the woods. They should be just ahead. Suddenly, the weight of betrayal hit me harder than ever. This was the reckoning, this was the culmination of everything, of secrets, lies, and the unending search for the truth. Like a thread unraveling, I felt the connections binding us together fray in the chilling winds of our father's shadows. Look, see the old shack. One of the figures barked, its sinister intent lingering in the air. They couldn't have gone far. I knew this was a pivotal moment, our moment to either reclaim our past or let it consume us entirely. In that heartbeat of vulnerability, courage surged, knitting together the fragile strands of hope. Dean, I whispered urgently. If these are the people from our father's life, then we might have connections to stand against them. We can't just glare blindly into the dark. But as the shapes drew closer, clothed in shadows and indistinct features, I felt my resolve begin to splinter. Would we be able to confront the ghosts that had dogged us for so long? And just then, something magical happened. A soft light flared in the distance, illuminating the darkness like a sudden dawn. I squinted, disoriented, as a figure stepped into view, their features becoming sharp under the moonlight. No! Someone screamed, and my heart dropped when I recognized Jenna's voice tearing through the night, filled with a mixture of joy and panic. What are you doing here? I cried, instinctively running toward her as she rushed into the clearing. A wave of disbelief washed over the group as I looked from Jenna to Dean and back. But beneath the overwhelming chaos, something essential flickered, a thread binding us deeper than fear, a shared lineage, an act of defiance against our past. I came to help, Jenna said breathlessly, urgency marking her every word. I overheard something at the party. People were talking about you all. About your father's family. Talking? About what? I asked, my voice taut. I think I can help. We have to move. But first, we have to confront the truth. The weight of what rested at our doorstep coiled tightly in my chest, but amidst the fear, I felt the distant hum of hope. As the shadows edged closer, I turned to my family, feeling the warmth of connection ignite in our midst. We will face whatever comes together. No more running. Eyes locked across the small clearing, and in that moment, we became something more than just individuals entwined by blood. We were family forged in storm and fire, standing against the tide of history as shadows. With newfound determination swelling in our chests, we stepped forward, ready to reclaim our narrative. The darkness gathered, but with our hearts intertwined, we would no longer cower. Together, we would wrest the truth from a past shrouded in mystery, illuminated by the strength of family, a legacy of resilience that would carry us through the storm. As the shadows drew nearer, heartbeats synchronized, we thrust open the door to whatever awaited us, facing our truths head-on. And for the first time, I felt that in this darkness, we would be the light, untamed and blazing, ready to forge a path through the maze of our shared destinies. In that undeniable moment of reckoning, I knew it, no matter how harrowing the road ahead, love and truth would ultimately guide us home. And with that realization echoing against the baleful winds, I whispered resolutely, "Let us finish this together."